Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, October 8th, 2015. I'm Laughlin Fraser with the details. More radical moves will come if government does not commit to the one-month tax-free salary payment to teachers and public servants here. That's the warning coming from President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, or the SVG-TU, Oswald Robinson, following the announced joint stay-at-home strike action with the Public Service Union scheduled for Tuesday, October 13th, 2015. In an interview with SVG-TV News today, Robinson, as well as President of the Public Service Union, or the PSU, Elroy Boucher, proudly showed off their Solidarity black armbands and said they are standing firm in ensuring that the demands for their members are met. Robinson called on all to show solidarity and says, contrary to statements, they are not holding the nation's children at ransom, but they are ensuring that justice reigns.
We took a decision yesterday, both unions, both executives met, and we decided that we are going for a one-day strike as the first radical move. So there could be more movements coming if the authorities fail to use common sense and let justice prevail. So we are going to have a one-day strike on Tuesday by the will of the Lord, Tuesday the 13th, and we are calling on all partners, all stakeholders to work with us, because in the end everybody will benefit. The workers, who are the real engines of the economy, and all the other beneficiaries of our services. I know some people would want to say we are holding the children at ransom. That is a famous saying, but it's only in St. Vincent and the Grenadines you would hear that statement. We have been very patient. The government has acknowledged the patience of the trade unions. We were told that we are reasonable.
The Teachers Union president also called on their members not to feel fearful about their ability to protest, as they have the right to take action and are protected under the law.
Industrial activity is a legitimate activity done by trade unions when there is a dissatisfaction. Okay? And here is where workers need to understand that they have a right. Okay? So your union calls you out to take an action, you are protected by that action of the union. You cannot be penalized by the state for responding, because it is not illegal. Okay? It is a normal trade union practice. So those who have fears out there, there's no need to be fearful. You stand with the trade union and the trade union will protect you. Okay, and you're protected by the laws of the country. Our constitution clearly speaks to the issue of freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and we are expressing ourselves without violating the fundamental rights of anybody. So this expression is done in the form of an industrial action.
And President of the Public Service Union, Elroy Boucher, took the opportunity to respond to the recent statements made by the Prime Minister about increments given to public servants. Boucher went into details explaining that an increment is different from a salary increase. He says compared to other Caribbean countries, St. Vincent and the Grenadines receives far less in payments.
Increments really speaks to the value of the job, and it has nothing to do with a salary increase. If your job is valued at $1,000, you do not start at the value of the job. You start at a lower level, and over a period of 5 to 7 years, you attain the maximum within that job, which is the value of the job. Okay, so that is what increment really is about. And the bulk of the public service have already reached their maximum. So they're not even getting increments. The bulk of the public service outside of teaching, you have the EOs, you have the senior clerks, junior clerks, and lower down. Most of those persons are at their maximum, and most of those persons are making far less than is made in the other countries. So it is quite clear that that really doesn't apply.
Boucher also pleaded with members of the respective unions not to be afraid to stand with them, as they have to ensure they're able to meet their daily financial commitments.
You know how hard it is. The Prime Minister or any other minister can speak. They know how easy it is for them. Those who will try to dissuade you from taking action, they also already have their bread buttered. We are very much aware of what happens within the public service. Lots of square peg and round holes. And I will always say, there will only be square pegs and round holes if people get there by nepotism or by party coloration. So the bulk of the public service really at a disadvantage. You know how difficult it has been for the past 4 years, 2015, almost 5 years. You know how hard it is. Okay, somebody made a reference this morning to the time when you could have gone and buy a tin of corned beef for $3. Now, I don't know who buying that now because it's like $7 and $8. So where did the price increase come from if it's at zero? So we know how difficult it is. We know that it is hard for us to make ends meet. And all we're asking for is this 1 month tax-free salary. One-off payment. You want the payment, you need the payment. You need to stand with your union. Stand, because we need to show the government the strength that we have. And we also need to command the respect of the government, because basically if you can get on a platform and announce increases for the poor of the country, which we support, but if you can do that at the snap of a finger and you'll turn around and tell the public servants that you can't, that's unacceptable.
In related news, General Secretary of the National Workers Movement, or the NWM, Noel Jackson, says his organization will not be standing in solidarity with Teachers Union and the Public Service Union in their strike action this coming Tuesday, October 13th. Jackson told SVG-TV News earlier today that while he supports them in seeking the demand of a 1-month tax-free salary on behalf of their members, the way in which the request is being made by cutting off dialogue is not ethical. Jackson says while in negotiations with the Prime Minister, the union suggested things such as extending the overdraft, terminating contracts of some government workers, or introducing a tax. He says these suggestions were refused by the Prime Minister, and that if the proper channels are not pursued, an increase in salary can be at the detriment of all.
Getting increases and other things does not necessarily mean that you're providing proper representation, because you could get those things with consequences that can backfire, may not be on your category of workers, but on other category of workers. I can't live with that. I've not been trained to operate like that. You know? So getting something does not necessarily mean that you have won and that you are providing proper representation, because you can get something and present bad representation, because there could be consequences that could be negatively impacting categories of workers and sections of workers in the country. That is why when the idea of introducing a tax to pay that $25 million, I wonder if persons were crazy, what they were thinking. Because who are you going to tax? The members of cabinet? No, you're not going to tax the members of cabinet. You're going to tax all of us. And we are up to our neck.
Jackson, who has been a trade unionist for over 35 years, believes that most of the leaders today are leading based on their egos and are unaware of the basic precepts.
And nobody is prepared to give up anything. Every person wants to be a little king in his 2x4 corner. Now, if the international people are seeing it necessary to merge, to make the resources work, to survive, what happened to us in these little islands? What happened to us? And this is a significant part of the problem that we have. Another problem that we have is that the ego of some of the trade union representatives, because I want to refer to some persons as that, not a trade unionist. A trade unionist is a professional, somebody who has training and understand what is happening. The problem I have with some of the trade union representatives is that they all to have an understanding that unity is strength. And without that, we are going to have problems.
And SVG-TV took to the streets to find out how Vincentians feel about the upcoming strike action by the Teachers Union and the Public Service Union. The views were mixed.
would not be supporting this strike.
Why not?
Because right now the economy of the country is kind of bad right now, and there's so much things are being done. The airport is being built and stuff like that, and I don't think the economy of the country could handle what they are really requesting.
I'm supporting the teachers on the strike because the teachers of them have to get patient to teach the children of them, and some of them harden, and they deserve more.
Miss, would you be supporting the teachers on this strike?
No, not enough information. No, I haven't been following.
Ladies, would you be supporting the teachers on their strike?
No. No, I don't think so.
Why not?
Because I think some of them have been very ungrateful right about now, because teachers get the most holidays in a year.
Tell the truth, I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of anything about it.
But the teachers are striking again for their 1 month tax-free salary, and the government is saying that they don't have enough source of funds right now.
Well, so that if they don't have enough source of funds, what can they do?
Free salary, 1 month tax-free salary.
A month?
Yeah.
I could understand if they're striking for like a year tax-free, but a month.
Well, it was owed to them, so
well, I don't know what to really say about them. I mean, they're the teachers. They're feeling the burden, the pressure, whatever they say. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate striking at this time because I have a son going to school, and it'll be rough for me, but I hope the government and them come to some kind of negotiation or whatever.
Of course I support this teacher strike, because when the teachers in call for, they ain't getting it. So I give them right to strike. Because when they call for, they make an offer for give them and you give them it. So I give the teacher force the right for the strike. And when they strike, they want the justice they're looking for. Some people saying, oh, teachers ain't the forward and get me because then teaching children go teach. So if teachers and teaching children go, how the children are learning and passing common entrance, I give the teachers the right to strike when they get justice.
As for the Omnibus Association and their planned strike action, the President, Anthony Bacchus, says they are proceeding with their plans for Monday, October 12th, 2015. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News, Bacchus, however, says if the government is able to present documented evidence that they are going to meet the association's demands, then NOBA will dispose of all plans to withdraw their services on Monday. He says the executive of the association firmly stands by this decision and the best interests of members. In more local news, Prime Minister Gonsalves says St. Vincent has been removed from the EU tax haven blacklist. Dr. Gonsalves says that at the UN summit in New York, he got the opportunity to address the matter with the Italian Prime Minister, in which he responded that SVG will receive official notice in the form of a letter sometime this week. Prime Minister Gonsalves noted that this is not the first time that SVG has been wrongfully placed on the blacklist for being a tax haven, which threatened to ruin the country's reputation in terms of investments and tourism. He, however, says the government did not allow this to affect them, adding that he is happy that he was able to address the matter so that the error could be made right.
As the Americans would say, completely out from left field, came this ban against this blacklist, Barbados, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Antigua, British Virgin Islands. We, for instance, and those other countries, we had been given a stamp of approval by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the Financial Action Task Force as having clean international financial centers. And these fellas just came from the left field with some bureaucrats in the European Union, the European Commission, and put that down. And remember, I said that they're wrong. They made a terrible mistake, and I took a hard line. Well, now the Prime Minister said to me, yes, it was a mistake. They were wrong, and that they have corrected it, and that I should be getting a letter soon, this week. Well, I hope I get the letter.
SVG will be represented by a senior government minister at the World Climate Change Conference of Parties 21 in Paris later this year. At this week's media conference, Dr. Gonsalves says the issue of climate change is a matter of existential importance to SVG. Therefore, it is vital that every immediate effort be made to reduce its effects.
Given the rise in temperatures, the rise in sea levels, the frequency and intensity of storms, the alternation of lots of rainfall and drought, this affects people's livelihoods, and particularly the poor and the vulnerable and the marginalized. We in St. Vincent and Grenadines, we're losing our shoreline, the whole area, well, even before Connery. You take it from Bayaboo, and persons would say from Annisvale, go right up to the northeast. If you see the maps, what the situation was in 1950, and I've made an observation of it, and the loss of land, it's just huge. I mean, in Georgetown, you would look, and it's what you have lost between 1950 and the current time is 2 lengths of a cricket pitch.
Additionally, the Prime Minister says that to fight climate change, SVG must have the support of the international community, who are responsible for a great amount of carbon emissions and other forms of pollution that deplete the ozone layer.
We don't contribute greatly to climate change. And we have been doing a lot of work in this area. But this is not work which we can do alone. We have to do it with the small island developing states, and we have to do it with countries throughout the world, and this is why COP21 in Paris is so important. The discussions which are taking place there, the Conference of Parties, that conference is taking place within the context of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It hasn't been finalized. But we will have at least a senior minister present there and officials, at least. It's over a 3-week period or thereabouts. Official meeting, ministerial meetings, and then finally the heads, the final set of negotiations. Of course, all now, so the outcome document is being worked on.
The opposition New Democratic Party took their campaign to career in the Marico constituency last evening, where the platform speakers encouraged residents to throw their support behind Curtis Bowman to ensure that there is someone who cares greatly about their physical, economical, and social well-being. One of the speakers, Linton Lewis, said for too long the current ULP administration has failed to provide proper health care to the people of SVG, adding that this is where Curtis Bowman comes in. He says Bowman has worked in the public healthcare service, for a number of years as a pharmacist, and according to Lewis, will ensure that there is always a supply of the medication and functioning equipment at the various hospitals and clinics.
For 15 years in opposition, we did not stay as an opposition party. What did we do? We still tried, every single one of us, to help people with their school supplies, help them with their hospital bills, help them with their funerals. You think about it, we have been involved in representing the people of every constituency. Curtis joined that type of team because he's that type of person, someone who cares about people and people's welfare. And I want to say to you in Marico that it is something you must look at. The guidance that he has, the support that he has, and why that he will make a resounding and overwhelming contribution to the development of the constituency of Marico and St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a whole. Many people in St. Vincent cannot eat well and they cannot sleep well because of the problems that they're facing under the Unity Labour Party at this time. And when you can't eat well and you can't sleep well, it affects your health. Because we sit down at the hospital, almost every single month, someone is losing a limb. The only way out of problems, the only way to improve your health and to get very good health care, you have to vote for Curtis Bowman in the constituency of Marrickwood.